So, without further ado, we'll get straight into the forum itself. So, your moderator for tonight, co-founder of TOC, like I said, and our former chief editor, Mr. Chu Chen-si.
The last footnote is we actually did invite the PAP. We sent an email to the Secretary General of the PAP, PM Lee. We also reached out to an MP who said he was keen to come. He asked for clearance but didn't get it. So unfortunately, that's the elephant in the room tonight. We hope you use this opportunity to get as much out of our speakers tonight as possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, question is quite simple. Basically, you've been writing quite a bit about HDB policies and stuff like that. What's your position in some different parties saying that they intend to privatize the HDB, the development of HDB and things like this? Do you consider that your way of, how do you say, providing the funding for it, or is it going to be the current status quo where development is based, supported directly from the state? I think SDP and RP mentioned that you would like to privatize, open up the development of these HDB and private housing directly to private developers, if I'm not wrong, if I read this correctly.
So, thank you for your question. HDB itself is a socialist program. It is actually not a bad program, right? Basically because we have a land scarce situation in Singapore. For sustainable usage of land for this generation and the future generations, you need to recycle the land, right? So what PAP has done is they have acquired 80% of the land, right? Freehold land. They recycle it into 99 years, about 1 or 2 generations. Now, at this moment, if you are telling me that you are going to privatize it, it is not feasible. Because basically, the government has become the biggest landlord in Singapore. That's number one. If it's going to be privatized, how are you going to do the costing? Which land belongs to who? Do you actually privatize to the company that sell the land to the company? That is supposed to be a privatized corporation. And do you still follow through the purpose of having this land recycling process by having a 99 years lease? So I do not think it is a feasible program at this stage. Right? If you are talking about, if we have started maybe in the 1965, right away we have a HDB, we do not have a HDB. Then we will have a few local entities, enterprises will go into public housing development. Then that is possible. But at this moment, with a bulk of land owned by the government, I do not think it is feasible at this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Goh. Dr. Chi, would you like to take this as your party-specific question?
I don't think you were correct when you said that the SDP had advocated we wanted to privatize HDB. What we had said was that HDB must not continue to be a profit-making body, because if it does that, it's lost its original intent to provide affordable, cheap, affordable housing for the masses. And in order to do that, what we have advocated was that you need to make sure that HDB remains a zero-profit venture. And that would include making sure that people who bought flats that are closer to your amenities and your centers, your hubs and so on, pay a premium at a higher rate, obviously above cost. But people staying away in the outlying areas would then pay below cost. So when you sum it up, when you take the average, HDB continues to be this non-profit making body, and that would help the masses. That's got to be important. That's point number one. The second point is that in order to do that, what we need to do is to get HDB to be transparent in all its transactions. In building a flat, you need labor costs. There is material costs. There is, of course, land costs. If these are not made public, transparent, we will never know how much a particular flat costs. And therefore, we are able to begin its price. So the first things first, get the first step, get the government to reveal the true cost of building an HDB flat.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chibo.
Yeah, what we have said is that there's a conflict of interest between the HDB as the builder of 80% of the nation's housing, the SLA as the owner of 80% of the land, and the HDB as the provider of most of the housing finance. So it's ridiculous to speak of a market in land. HDB prices are basically set by the government. And what we've seen is that they've done a very poor job of managing supply, because over the last 10 years their house building has tailed off, and at the same time the population has grown enormously. So what we've talked about is that HDB should go back to being the supplier of cheap, affordable housing to the lower 30% of the income strata, and we should try as much as possible to introduce more competition, higher quality and better choice for the rest of the population, and at the same time increase the supply of land to allow a greater amount of housing to be built. We also want to explore allowing at the moment all HDB is 99-year leasehold. So the tenant, you're effectively a tenant of the HDB, and you don't really, I mean, this is a unique situation which doesn't apply in any other developed country. You are basically at the whim of the HDB. So we'll explore allowing HDB owners to buy out the freehold of the property so that they can benefit from the rise in the value of the land.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rana. Anthony, your question to Mr. Shah.
My question is, why is it that it is so difficult to get members of parliament to speak out about the plight of the mentally ill in parliament? I've written to several MPs.
Sorry, Raymond. Your time is up.
Yeah.
We want to give as many people
okay.
as possible to ask questions. So if you don't mind, thank you very much. Sorry about that. Mr. Chan.
Raymond, I think your problem is a victim of PAP policy. They don't like meddling with people with disabilities. Their main aim is to enrich themselves only.
So do we have a place in society?
Not in Singapore society, I'm afraid.
I thought Prime Minister Lee said that he wants to make Singapore a home for every Singaporean.
He says a lot of things, but do you know, in the last election, the PAP promised the residents of Potong Pasir $18 million if they voted their candidate, but they voted for me instead.
Yeah.
So after the election, I was curious. I asked the resident, I said, why don't you vote the PAP when they promise you 18 million for upgrading your flats? You know what was the straight answer they gave me? He said, don't trust the PAP, they're all liars. Yeah, I was shocked when I heard the answer. In fact, the credibility has gone down the drain. I think that PAP is finished. Thank you.
So one of the biggest economic social problems that we have is income inequality, which Dr. Chi alluded to just now. And as well researched by one piece that came out last Saturday, this income inequality problem is pretty difficult. It has a lot of different driving forces behind it. So I would like to understand what is the Workers' Party so-called probably solution, or what would the Workers' Party's policies be to mitigate this income inequality?
Thank you, Alvin, for your question. Well, the Workers' Party our MPs in Parliament have spoken extensively on many occasions about the income inequality problem. During the COS debates, during the budget debates, they've talked about how we need to raise the incomes of the lower income and to be able to let the wealth of our country be spread out much better. Now, we realize that Singapore is a very rich country, but the wealth is very much in the hands of the few, and it's not spread, especially down to the lowest income Singaporeans. And I think that's what we really need to focus on, is being able to help those in the lower income groups. There have been some things that have been introduced, which even though there might be PAP policies, I think they have been good in mitigating some of the problems. One of them is workfare. Now, the problem with workfare is that the quantum that is given out is too little. Well, for the education of those who may not be familiar with what workfare is, it's an income supplement that's given to those who are earning less than $1,700 a month. Now, the problem with workfare is that it's pitched as something that is giving out money to the lower income, when actually, if you actually look at the numbers, an average person, a typical person on workfare gets only about $80 more per month. Now, that is hardly enough to be able to sustain a decent lifestyle if one is not earning enough. So one of the things that we are studying is to propose to raise that amount, that quantum, such that those at a lower income can earn more. And the other thing is that self-employed people, your daily rated workers, would tend to also get a much lower quantum of workfare, and that's something that we think needs to be equalized. Now, the most important aspect about equalizing our incomes is really to reduce the inflow of foreign workers, especially the low wage and low skilled foreign workers, because that's what makes it hard for our workers to have the bargaining power to be able to ask for higher incomes, ask for higher wages. And that's really the most important thing that we need to focus on, is to reduce the number of foreign workers, especially those without skills who come and compete with our lowest wage workers. Sorry, Gerald. Thanks.